in this live stream, I want to talk about the UK property market and what's really going on in there. And what's interesting is that, I mean, over the last couple of years, there's always been so much going on in the UK property market, and oftentimes it's actually a bit of a mess. And what we find is the more the government kind of plays with it and messes about with it and tries to manipulate the property market, just the worse it gets. The worse it gets for tenants, of course, and you know, for many people, tenants are the most important thing here, including for ourselves. To some extent, you know, we have to look after our tenants, for our customers. And, you know, when people go on about, oh, landlords just want to get rid of tenants, it's like, why would we want to do that? It's like Tesco getting rid of all their customers. Why would we want to get rid of all our tenants? We don't want to do that. We want to keep tenants for as long as we can. The problem is, a couple of things have happened over the last few years. It's made that very, very difficult. And it's also made it very, very difficult not to increase rents. And we're going to talk about that as well, because I think it's really important. Let's talk about it now, actually, before we get into the rest of the content. So why are rents going up? So a couple of reasons. One is Section 24, which was a taxation that came in, which meant that landlords could not offset the cost of their mortgage. So imagine a taxi driver, and he pays £500 a month for his car, for his loan in interest payments. And the government says, yeah, you're not allowed to offset that. We're going to tax you on it instead. Like, that's literally what's happened. And tenants don't know this. What has happened, and what's been very, very clever, really, is that the government has turned tenants who are on benefits into 40% taxpayers. And you're like, that's ridiculous. How has a government turned a tenant into a 40% taxpayer who's on benefits? And I'll tell you why. Because if they're renting in, let's say, London, and they're renting a £1,200 a month place, if the landlord is a 45 or 40% taxpayer, because which they will be, by the way, because if he's got more than 3 or 4 properties, it's going to send him over the threshold. Because if his mortgage is £800 on a £1,200 a month income, then his profit is £400. That makes total sense, right? You'd think so. But no, that's not his profit. His profit is 40% on £1,200 because he can't offset that £800. And so you wonder why rents have gone up. So now 40% of 1,200 quid, can't do the maths on that. What is that? £480. So they've got to, they're actually on a loss of £80 a month because of the taxation on top of everything that they currently have to pay. £480 a month on tax, just on that £1,200 a month. So people don't understand this, you see, and tenants don't understand it, and I think the media do understand it, but they don't write about it. Nobody talks about Section 24 taxation. Nobody, not anybody writes about it. And this is one of the biggest reasons why rents have gone up so much, why landlords are leaving in droves. And there's a massive tsunami of landlords that are about to leave this sector this year. And I can't really go into the specific reasons as to why. But I know something you probably don't. Let's just put it that way. And there are reasons going on in the background that landlords are going, do you know what? I can't do this. Here's the keys. I'm going to hand the keys back to the mortgage companies. And they're just going to walk away. And now you might go, yeah, but not all landlords have mortgages. And you're absolutely right. For those landlords without mortgages, they're just taking advantage of the fact that rents are going up from £800 to £1,200 a month, let's just say. That's fine. But those landlords who have got mortgages and that have moved them into a more tax-efficient wrapper, shall we call it, they're going to get hit with a massive, massive tax bill for stamp duty. And like, tenants don't understand any of this, and the press don't understand it, because why would they? And the government don't understand it either. But there's a tsunami, and it is on its way to wipe out the UK rental market. And you think rents are high now, you think homelessness is bad now, it is going to surge. And we keep telling them, look, this is what's going to happen. This is the reason for that. And everyone goes, oh, no, it's not. Oh, landlords. Oh, let me get a little violin. Listen, you do need a little violin, and it's not for the landlords, because the landlords will simply sell up, move their money onto something else. Okay. Don't have to deal with tenants. Don't have to deal with boilers. We had a tenant, and his kitchen sink is on the 3rd floor, and he had water coming up the kitchen sink. And so we go down to concierge, and concierge is like, yeah, you need a plumber. It's like, look, dude, we're not changing physics here. Water is coming up the pipe. It's not a leak. There's a water surge of some kind. There's a water, like, I don't want to deal with that shit anymore. And you wonder why landlords are leaving. Taxation, rent reform bill, dealing with tenants. We had one who sent me a phone call, a WhatsApp video call at 5 a.m. because his fridge had stopped working, demanding a new same-day fridge. And I'm like, dude, no. We'll get the appliance repair guy out. We'll see what we can do. And then it was very difficult to even get access because the tenant was being awkward with access. It's just bizarre. And I'm like, do you know what? I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. I've done it for 26 years. We've been really good landlords for 26 years. And even the great landlords are moving out. So there's a massive tsunami on its way. Now, today's news might help a little bit because there is a 25 point, which is a 0.25% interest rate cut. That will help. But we had interest rates going up quarter point every single month for 18 months or however long it was. We've not had a quarter point drop. Now, you might go, well, if landlords can't cope with a quarter point increase every single month, I shouldn't be a landlord. And it wasn't necessarily that that's caused the problem. It's that and the rent reform bill, which has only just come through, but we've known about it for quite some time. And it's the massive increase in taxation because of Section 24, which came in, I don't know what it is, 8 years ago, 2016, it was phased in, 20% a year over 4 years. You're still allowed a 20% allowance, which I never quite get my head around. But a quarter point interest rate cut will definitely help in so much as it will get some landlords to go, well, maybe if we've dropped it this month, maybe we'll do it the next month and the next month and the next month. I can't really see that happening, quite honestly, with the interest rate cuts. But it might slow down landlords leaving. They might just slow down and go, well, let's just see what happens next month. But for other landlords, they've already made that decision. The properties are on the market. And obviously, if you're trying to sell a property on a market with a tenant in, if you've ever tried to do that, you'll know just how difficult that is, because it is really difficult. It's really challenging trying to do that. We've got several properties on the marketplace right now with tenants in, getting access, and then we get nervous because although we try and sell to other landlords, but not as many landlords are buying right now as well. So it's kind of a snake feeding on its own tail. It's a circular argument, if you like. So that's causing quite a few problems as well. But a quarter point interest rate cut will help, and hopefully it will keep some landlords in the game. Now, obviously, I'm a landlord. My first priority is me and my family and my kids, and we get to eat and we get to live the life that that we've worked really hard to get accustomed to. But also, we have a secondary concern there as well, which is for the tenants. We've had tenants in our properties. Bear in mind, I've been an investor for 26 years in the UK buy-to-let market. I've had tenants in for 15 years, and I've still got the same tenants in. And we like to keep the tenants in. But unfortunately, when we're looking at what properties we need to sell, and because we're selling up everything, we have to evict these 15-year tenants. And it's dreadful. And what happens is, you go on Twitter and people go, oh, landlords are bastards. Okay, fine. Landlords are bastards. We get called much worse. I'm used to it. Landlords are bastards, forcing people to rent. We don't force anyone to rent. We have a property. You can move in, you can move out. Benefit claimants, forcing benefit claimants. That's government money. That's our money. No, it's not your money. It's not even the government's money. It's the tenant's money. The tenant decides where they want to live. And by all means, Mr. Tenant, don't rent from a private landlord. Go find a social housing. Just rent from social housing then. If you don't want that money to go to landlords, fine. I have no problem with that. Just don't rent from a private landlord. And then when we don't allow people on benefits to rent from us, oh, that's disgusting. You shouldn't be allowing. You should be allowing tenants to rent from. Yeah, but if they don't have the first month's rent and the first month's deposit, we believe in equality. If they've got that, then we can move in as long as they pass referencing, just like everybody else. But this is what happens on things like Twitter and the general tenants and shelter and crisis, which just don't have a clue, right? They have no idea what's really going on with landlords because they hate landlords so much. They just want to continue to hate them. And let's not forget, by the way, I think Polly's left shelter now, but her arguing about landlords and demonising landlords and shelter demonising landlords and crisis demonising landlords keeps those folks in a job. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? Let's ruin the tenant market. Let's demonise landlords so they leave the market. So now tenants got less places to rent. Then rents have gone up. Oh, brilliant. Now we can demonise the landlords. Oh, and we're getting all this money. How much money do you think shelters made over the last, say, 10 years? It's millions, millions and millions and millions. How many people do you think shelter have housed? None. They don't do housing. All they do is they go to court and keep tenants in a property where they've not paid rent. I know this because I turned up to a repossession order meeting, court session in Doncaster. Shelter turned up. The guy was fully employed, just didn't want to pay his rent, hadn't paid his rent for 5 months. Eventually got to court, having gone through it with no rent for 5 months. Shelter turned up to defend him. And then, so here we are with a tenant who refuses to pay even though he had money. We can't evict him. Also caused damages to the property as well in the realm of thousands of pounds worth of damages. We can't do anything. Shelter turn up. Eventually we got him out anyway, thankfully, and the judge saw through what was going on. But that tenant took a property from another paying tenant. And what happens is, let's say it's 1% of bad tenants. And let's say we got 100 properties. That one tenant out of the whole 100 causes such a headache, we go, oh, screw this for game soldiers. I'm not doing this anymore. And so it forces good landlords with 26 years experience out of the landlording business. Well, our business is in renting to nice people and putting a roof over their head. And we have some amazing tenants. We also have some tenants who are not very nice as well. And you get a mix. And certainly for the first 20 years of running this as a business, I was fine with it. You get the good with the bad and you deal with the bad, and it takes 3 or 4 months to evict. And yeah, you don't get that money back, but it's not that bad. Okay, fine. Now it's like 9 months. 9 months to evict a non-paying tenant who's damaging the crap out of your property. We had a tenant, and it's 2 flats in one house, and so we pay the electricity, and she moved into a caravan on the driveway with an extension cable going into the flat, which he'd ruined, by the way, completely trashed the flat. Dog shit everywhere, dog piss everywhere. Oh, you have to allow pets now. We're forced to the rent reform bill will force us to accept pets. Have you ever cleaned a property that's had a pet in it that's not controlled very well? The dog poo on the carpets, for example, the chewing of the doors, the urine smells that even though you've aired it and all the carpets have gone and you've Febrezed the crap out of it and it still stinks, months later. Like if you've ever done that, it's another reason why landlords are leaving, because we're forced into accepting people into our properties that we might not necessarily want to accept into our properties. But it takes 9 months to evict a non-paying tenant. And also, these tenants are causing damage. Not all of them, of course. Some people fall on hard times, and we try and help those people as much as we can, as long as communication is going well. And sometimes they just ignore us and they trash the property. We've literally had it where it's cost like £30,000 or £40,000 to repair the damages in the property. They were DSS, so there's no comeback on that money. We just lost that money. We sold that property. Yet another property out of circulation. Nice big 4-bed house in Leeds, which we always rented out to people on benefits. Well, we sold that now, so people on benefits can't rent that one. Well, people can just buy. Yeah, because people on benefits can just buy. God, I'm having a bit of a whine here, but it's fine. It's nice and cathartic. Because this is what people say on Twitter. Oh, well, brilliant. Another landlord selling up. Awesome. More properties coming onto the property market, which will bring down prices. Yeah, because house prices are the cheapest they've been in, decades? No, they haven't. They've been the most expensive. So that ideology just doesn't work. You could, 150,000 landlords have left the sector since 2019, if memory serves. That's 5 or 6 years. How much house prices come down in the last 5 years? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? They haven't. It takes 9 months to evict a non-paying tenant who damages your property. And the worst bit about all of that is you phone the police and they're like, just laughing at you down the phone. Yeah. And they give a damn. And nobody cares. So what happens is the landlord gets pissed off. Okay. They then sell up. Yeah, they have another house going onto the market. And if only it was a one-in, one-out policy where, this rental property goes onto the market and therefore a tenant who was renting that property is now a home buyer. It doesn't work like that because of immigration and all the people coming in. Okay. And the net migration, I should say. I'm fully up for immigration, by the way. And I think immigration and a mixture of different people, I love it. I'm English living. I'm an immigrant myself. I live here in Spain, right? It'd be very hypocritical of me to say immigrants are bad because I don't think they are. However, the net migration numbers are quite high, like 300,000, whatever it is. So what happens is all those people have to come in and rent somewhere. So when a property goes off the market, you still have all the other tenants, and you have the net migration figures that are coming through as well, which means that there's even more people going for that rental market, and there's yet another property come off the rental market. And also, some people who are coming off the rental market, yeah, they will buy that house. But because there's also so many people coming into the rental market, and also because wages haven't really gone up, so people can't afford mortgages anyway. And it's not just for mortgage, is it? You know, if the bank says I can't afford this £800 a month mortgage, so therefore you have to pay £1,500 a month in rent, because that makes sense. And obviously it doesn't. But it's not a one-in, one-out policy here. You don't get a tenant or a property going onto the sales market, and a tenant is the person who buys that. It's usually someone upsizing or downsizing. Or, you know, if mum and dad have got 3 kids all around the same age, and those 3 kids all buy a house because they were living at home with mum and dad, doesn't even touch the rental market. It just means that that house is now no longer available because someone's bought it who wasn't renting in the first place. So it causes this imbalance. Again, the more you play with it, the worse it gets. Stop playing with it, fellas. It just doesn't work. The government have all their little interruptions and fiddling about and changing the market and taxing landlords out of existence. And then on the converse side, you have all these tenants going, greedy landlords making all this money. And it's like, no, you don't understand. 40% of that rent is going to the HMRC. The guy who's on benefits, who pays £1,200 for a 4-bed in Leeds, 40% of that is going to HMRC. And your rents are having to go up in order to cover the 40% because of the way that taxation works. People just don't get it. Which leads me on to average rents. Now, it depends on who you believe and where you believe and what you listen to with the numbers here. My number is 9%. I saw another one that said 3%. I don't believe it's 3%. My rent's definitely gone up more than 3% in 2024. I'd say 9% on average. Some have gone up, £200 on a £1,200 property for £1,400. I don't know what that is, but that's more than 9%. It's about 20%, I think. Yeah, about 18%. But average rents have gone up by 9%. Now, again, that number's really skewed because you've got London. So have rents gone up in London by 3%, and in Leeds have gone up by 12%, which would average at 9%, I think. I don't know. Or is it that London's gone down by 3% and up north's gone up by 15%, or whatever those numbers need to be? Because it's when people say average, it's a really fluid market. You got the person in the tiniest flat and their rent's gone up by 10 quid, and you've got the people in the 6 centre apartments in Leeds where the rent hasn't gone up at all, right? And it's really kind of got stuck there. The whole market for 6 centre flats is a bit of a mess because of all the cladding stuff that's going on and fire safety. And, I was paying £1,600 a month on 2 flats each. £3,200 a month on 2 flats I was paying for a working watch. I've had these properties like 22 years, I think it is. And it must be longer than that. Maybe about 24 years we've had these properties. Never had a fire, never burnt down, grade 2 listed building, working watch, £3,200 a month for 10 months. 32 grand. Where do you think 32 grand is going to come from to pay for working watch? Just magic it out of the back of a sofa? Or do you think rents are going up to pay for that? And actually rents haven't gone up, which makes it even worse because now landlords are 32 grand in the hole and they're like, well, what am I going to do? Let's sell up. And again, because we've already talked about this not being a one in, one out, you don't sell up and that property that then goes into the sale market is bought by a tenant. It might be. Sometimes another landlord buys it, which is good. But usually it's a first-time buyer or a second-time buyer or somebody already in the market. They just put their property on. It just goes all the way down the chain. So it just doesn't work like that. So rents have gone up by 9% on average. Again, it's just, you could just chuck some money in the air, chuck a percentage in the air and just pick that one because averages don't mean anything. Okay, it's like average height. You get some people who are 3 foot tall, and you get some people who are 7'6", and you have the average height. I don't know what it is, 5'9". It's completely skewed, right? You got a person who's 3 foot tall, you got a person who's 7'6". Yet the average height is 5'9". So it could mean anything. If you meet someone and they say I'm shorter than the average height, like I have an average number of legs, for example, an above average number of legs. And you're like, how on earth, how many legs have you got? I've got 2 legs. How is that an above average number of legs? Because some people only have 1 leg. Some people have no legs. There's not many people with 3 legs, I'm guessing. But the average number of legs is 2. So if you, do you know what I mean? So averages are completely skewed. People kind of don't realise that. Anyway, let's talk about evictions. We did talk about it briefly. It takes 9 months to evict a non-paying tenant, or a tenant that doesn't want to leave, we should say. And you have various types of tenants that might not want to leave. So you've got a tenant just doesn't want to leave, and so they're going to keep paying rent, which is great. At least they're paying rent, but they're not leaving. You've then got a tenant who isn't paying rent, and they definitely don't want to leave. Well, why should they? Because they're in a place for 9 months. Because for you, might be 18 months, might be 3 months. Average is 9 months. I've evicted a number of tenants over the last few years. 9 months, I would say, is about right. And then they don't leave. And so then you have to go get, you got your repossession order, but you're not allowed to kick them out. You have to go to bailiffs. How long are we waiting for bailiffs? 12 weeks, another 3 months? It's shocking, folks. It's really, really bad. This is why now, for example, if you're under 30, you need a guarantor to rent with me. And we turn down 90% of people. They don't even get to the viewing stage because we've already turned them down. I'm 24. I'm in this job. We get a lot of Uber drivers. We get a lot of Amazon deliveries. It's all self-employed. Okay. I'm like, and that's fine. We accept self-employed. Have you got 3 years accounts? No. How many accounts you got? Well, I just started. Well, you can't rent then. Have you got a guarantor? No. Okay. So these people having to go into shared accommodation, of course. And you've got Article 4 areas which don't allow shared accommodation. That came in, so there's less places for these people to go. People who are forced to rent a one-bed flat, okay, because there's not enough shared housing available because of Article 4, those people are taking up the one-bed flat or even sharing a one-bed flat where one sleeps in a lounge, one sleeps in a bedroom. And we just had one, actually. It was a mum and dad and a 4-year-old wanting to rent a one-bed flat. And I asked them, how's that going to work exactly? And it's a decline, because it puts more wear and tear on the property, and we're not using the property for the purpose in which it was built, which is a one-bed flat, which might be a single person or a couple, but definitely not a family. So this is the problem that tenants are up against. And people just come in with these generalised statements. Oh, shared housing is really bad. Let's Article 4 those areas and stop more shared housing, which causes more pressure on one-bed and two-bed flats. Because you've got the people now moving into one-bed flats, which means they're not available, and the person who's a single person having to move into a two-bed flat, shared housing, good quality shared housing. What we also need, I'm all for HMO licenses, by the way, but the way in which the councils deal with landlords. So just before Christmas, I got paid £100 for taking part in a feedback session, which lasted about an hour. And it was basically me and this other bloke absolutely ripping the arse out of Leeds City Council, because Leeds City Council are complete and utter twats. And it's one of the reasons we're selling up. Council tax, licensing. It's one of the reasons we're selling up. When we deal with council tax, they're just awful. They hate landlords so much. They purposefully are awkward and make life hard. But when you're going for a HMO license, the people that deal with you, just wankers, just awful people you wouldn't want to deal with. So we're like, how about no? How about we don't deal with any of that? So what we do need is we need more shared housing. That would put less pressure on one-bed flats, which in turn would put less pressure on two-bed flats, which in turn would put less pressure on the whole rental market. Like, stop fiddling about with it. Remove Section 21 taxation for landlords. It's going to ease the pressure, and it's going to bring more landlords back into the sector. You can't complain that rents are going up and then in the same breath saying landlords are a bad thing. We exist, and if you don't like that, that's okay. That's your own opinion, but we exist, and we exist for a reason. If we didn't exist, where would tenants live? Oh, well, they'd all buy. Where are they finding the mortgages from? Down the back of a sofa? Where do they get the money? Who accepts them? What about tenants who are LHA, Local Housing Authority, or DSS on benefits? Where are they getting a mortgage from exactly? Please explain to me, somebody, like I'm a 2-year-old. But no, they can't do it. So you have to have a rental market. Oh, well, the government should be providing social housing. Have you seen the social housing? Rats the size of cats? Damp? You've seen it. There were no laws with social housing provided by the councils. Mould or everywhere. But people have been waiting for months and months and months for kids like dying. The little 2-year-old is dying of whatever it is because of all the mold spores we've been breathing in because it's a council flat. Like, we all know this because there's no legality on it. There's no rules on it. But if you have a tiny bit of mold as a landlord and environmental health come in, and quite rightly so, it should be resolved. It should be resolved, right? But not if you're a local council on social housing. So when people go, oh, it should be social housing. Where is the social housing? Oh, Matt Thatcher sold it all off. Okay, fine. That's what happened in the past. What are you doing to solve that in 2025, folks? Let's bring you out of your little dream world. Oh, in a dream world, we'll have all this social housing. Yeah, but we don't live in that world. We live in this world where Trump is just going to take over somebody else's country just for funsies. Ethnic cleansing is in 2025, so it appears. I just don't understand it. There's lots of things I don't understand. But putting your faith in the councils and the government to say, oh, yeah, we're going to have lots more social housing. Okay, great. Where is it? Where is it today? It just doesn't exist. So fine, you hate landlords, you want more social housing which doesn't exist. How are you solving that problem? You can't solve it today. You have to make life easier for landlords. You have to bring more landlords in. There's a wonderful, wonderful idea about bringing housing that's empty, that's just been stood there empty for years and years and years. There's a wonderful idea. I'm going to run it past you. Let me know what you think. This is the idea. You give a landlord a loan, a low interest loan, 2%, 3%, right? Whatever Bank of England base rate is, or even you give it for free. You give them 10 grand, 20 grand. Right, hear me out. I know you don't like it already. Hear me out. And then what happens is there's some insistencies on what happens when that empty property has got the loan brought back into usage. It has to go back to LHA, has to go into local housing authority. And then what happens is it's all signed off with pictures and inventory is taken. You hand that property over to the local council and they can put a family in there or do whatever it is that they want. And it's a 5-year contract or a 10-year contract, whatever it is, enough to pay off the loan that you've given that landlord, an interest-free loan or a very low percentage loan. Now what you've done is you've brought a property back into usage. I don't know how many empty properties there are, 350,000? I don't know. It's a lot, right? It's a lot. Imagine 35 cities all get 10,000 empty homes brought back into usage, or even 1,000 empty homes into usage. That would literally solve, first of all, it solves the waiting list, and it would also get people who are homeless off the streets as well. It also brings all these properties back in. It helps the landlord because now they've got this property that they're not in a position to spend the money on. It's a wonderful, wonderful idea. I've ran this past people at Shelter and Roundtree Foundation on Twitter, so nobody official. Oh my God, they hate landlords so much. They'd much rather us just shoot ourselves than actually do something that's useful. It's an absolute no. And in fact, I was speaking to a guy from Roundtree Foundation, one of the founders, I think, and he was like, no, we need to tax landlords more. Yeah, because that's worked so well in creating all this homelessness. Of course, it keeps them in a job. So of course we're going to say that. No, we need to tax landlords even more. We need to tax them out of existence. Okay, brilliant. So you just made all these extra people homeless again. Right, with this kind of mentality, it is no wonder the housing market fails and it will continue to fail. I just saw a woman, slightly off topic is this, but I just saw a woman and she's got an ear infection. She needs to go to a doctor's and the doctor says, oh no, you can just go to your pharmacy. It takes the pressure off the doctors, off GPs and opens up more spaces for other people, which I think is a wonderful idea. So she goes to the pharmacy and the pharmacist goes, yeah, we need to diagnose you first. Fine. It's 20 quid. And she's like, why am I paying 20 quid when I could just go to the GP? So eventually the pharmacist said, well, you don't have to pay 20 quid. If you get a referral from the GP, you can phone them and get a referral. We can reduce that £20 down to £10. What? So the GP that you're already paying for your national insurance and your tax or however they fund all that, you can't use that. You have to now pay at a pharmacy. So in the end, she just went back to the GP and took up a space. So it's like all this non-joined up thinking is throughout government, and I just don't get it. Like the property solution is to help people bring more properties into use, right? This is not rocket science. Help more landlords, help more investors, developers bring more property into use. We could start off with all that empty property, find all the people who own it, phone them up. All right, Mr. Landlord, what's your problem? Why is it, what's going on? Well, every time I fix it up, it gets broken into. Okay. So if we can fix it up for you and stop it being broken into by additional security, can we bring that property back into existence? Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. But there's a caveat. Okay. What is it? You need to rent it to the local housing authority for 5 years. We'll give you market rent. But it's a 5 or it's a 10-year, it's a 15-year. How long's left on your mortgage? 22 years. Right, we want it for 22 years. We'll give you guaranteed rent and you're going to get LHA rate all the way through that. And we'll bring the property up to standard. Brilliant. Got a property into usage, got a tenant off the waiting list, maybe even solve some homelessness. I don't know. Should we just find out how many empty properties there are? Empty properties UK. Let's have a look. 265,000 are classed as long-term empty, according to Action Empty Homes. I said 350,000, but that's pretty good. 265,000 homes. Imagine that. Imagine, let's do 265 divided by 265 divided by 2,500. That's 106 properties. Why was I doing that? I was saying 2,500 towns and cities in the UK. I don't know how many there is. It's a silly sum. But even that, with 2,500 towns and cities in the UK, which I don't even think there is, right, brings an extra 106 people off the streets. Solves homelessness in one sweep. And these are ridiculous numbers. Let's say there's 1,000 towns and cities. I don't know why I need a calculator for this. You'd bring 265 homes out of being not used, that are empty, that are not rented and not being sold, that are just empty. Solved homelessness in 1,000 towns and cities in the UK. And you might go, oh, well, London needs more. Fine, give London more, right? Let's bring an extra 1,000 homes that are empty in London, which I'm sure, it could be done. But no, we don't want to do that. Why? Well, this is helping the landlord. And the last thing we want to do is help the landlord. Hell yes. That's the last thing anybody wants to do, is actually bring homes into usage. Oh, this was very cathartic, by the way. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me just see if we've got any chats, by the way. I always forget to look at chats. Tom K, hey Tom, hope you're well. Tom K said fire safety and all that nonsense. Like, this is a perfect example, Tom, and I'm sure that you're just being twattish about this. Oh, fire safety, another landlord, fire safety is not important. Of course it's important, you muppet. Of course it's important. But that's not what we're talking about, is it? Is it in any way, shape or form? So this is the argument, right? And I love these arguments because people go to these weird extremes. Oh, Grenfell, you don't care about them. You just want everybody dead. Oh, that's your landlords. No. Well, explain. Just watch it back. Explain to me, where have we said that? Exactly. Just where, Tom? Where have we said that? Nowhere. But again, this is the argument that people come up with because you hate landlords and you hate the idea of renting. We get a lot of this on Twitter. Landlords don't provide anything. I'm sorry, what? Landlords don't provide. Well, you're not building houses, right? Did you build your car? Did you grow your pig for your bacon? No, that's not how the world works, is it? Other people build, we buy it, we invest in it because we're investors, and it just so happens that the byproduct is tenants, rental market. And we look after the properties because we want to look after properties. Tom K, Leeds is full of scum. Jerry Johnson, who is this silver fox? That, Jerry, is a compliment. I will take that. Is that it? We've got some more. Hey, man, just asking respectfully, I'll edit your video. We don't need him to do that. Thank you very much. Let me just put, Leeds is full of scum. Look at that. Leeds is full of scum. Thanks, Tom. Scum. Leeds are full of scum. Good to see that we're dealing with... I've got to put that on screen. Look at that. Who is this silver fox? Get in. Look at that right there. I'm shaving this out because it is grey. I'm 52. What do you expect? I love Tom. Leeds is full of scum. Tom, please subscribe and join me for every live stream that we do. What was that one? I can't read it when it's on there. Doesn't need video editing. That's all of them. Let me just put it. Oh, that one was about, well, Leeds is full of scum, fire safety and all that. Let's talk about fire safety. Fire safety, really, really important. Thank you, Tom. Leeds is full of scum. Love it. Fire safety is really, really important. Okay. But this is the thing about fire safety. Okay. And Tom, you're going to love this, mate. You are going to love this. Fire safety. So I had a house, it was a terraced house, it was in the middle of all these other houses, and there are other landlords in the street, okay? But the houses that I was next door to were both homeowners, okay? So local environmental health came in and said, oh no, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need a hardwired smoke alarm, fire system. We had one of those serving hatches from the olden days. That's all got to be bricked up because that's a massive, massive fire hazard. And you've not got 30-minute doors from the kitchen and to the cellar and to the upstairs. So 30-minute doors throughout, right? You know, 200 quid a door. Cost us about £2,500. Fire protection all the way through. Brilliant. All up for fire safety. Brilliant. What do you think next door have? Fuck all. Nothing at all. Nothing. No fire protection whatsoever. In fact, if they choose, they can just go and burn tyres in the front yard if that's what they choose to do, because there's no rules against it for homeowners, just rules for landlords. And don't get me wrong, I'm all up for fire safety, saving a life as a landlord. We've never had it in 26 years, never had a tenant. We had one tenant passing natural causes and that was it, but we've never had any accidents as bad as that, you know? So thank God, touch wood and all that. So I'm all up for fire safety. But where's the even keel? Why is it insistent on fire safety for landlords, but everybody else's house you can do what the hell you want? I don't understand that. I'm all up for 30-minute doors in houses because it saves lives. If you have a HMO, you need hardwired smoke alarm and you need fire safety doors. Absolutely. This wasn't the HMO. It was a 2-bed back-to-back in Hare Hills in Leeds, which we sold because licensing came in and we're just not even dealing with licensing. So yet again, the government and local councils just making a load of money on the licensing, of course. Well, it improves the area. Does it? It improves the area, does it? Okay. Did you see the riots in Hare Hills last year? Did you not see those 2 years after licensing came in? Somebody explained to me, as I'm a 5-year-old, how that helped that area, because it absolutely didn't. Can I just go back to Tom, by the way? Leisure full of scum. If you've got anything to say on this, by the way, folks, please. And I have to put Jerry Johnson. Who is this silver fox? Get in. Listen, when you're 52, Jerry, we will take that. We'll take that. And then Leeds is full of scum. So fire safety, really, really important. Tom obviously put all this nonsense as though we don't think that fire safety is important. And of course, fire safety is really important. I can't think of anything else that's more important, quite frankly. If, by the way, has anyone else got any comments? Because I'd love to answer. I do get excited when people comment. I've just got to put Tom's Leeds is full of scum. And I think that will do us for today. Unless you guys got anything else, then I think that will do us. £0.25 interest rate cut today. That helps. Hopefully, landlords might look at that and think, well, you know, maybe we'll just stay in a little bit more. Hopefully. And it's not going to be as bad for tenants. But who are we kidding? 2025 is going to be horrific for tenants. If you can get on the housing ladder, absolutely do it. Should we just talk very quickly about if you are a tenant and you need a place to stay? Let's get rid of Tom, because enough aggressiveness from Tom, I think. If you are a tenant and you need a place to stay, then and you need to rent somewhere, one of the things that I think, as a landlord of 26 years, we don't accept tenants really without guarantors now if you're under 30. So if you are, 24, 25, we've had tenants who are 17, by the way, desperate to rent a place. We can't rent to a 17-year-old because they're not legally allowed to sign a legally binding contract until you're 18. So if you're 17, you will struggle with that. So you need a guarantor, which is a parent or somebody else who's familial, a family member, really. What else would help? Have your deposit, get your 5 weeks saved up. I know that can be challenging. Rent in a HMO to begin with, and save up as much money as you can. Take photographs when you move into a place. So if you've got documented evidence which are time-stamped. If it's like hiring a car, if there's a scratch down a car, take a picture. If there's a burn mark in your carpet, take a picture. Inspect it all. And take photographic evidence so that you get to keep your bond. Make sure the bond has gone into your deposit protection scheme of some kind, whatever that happens to be. We talked about guarantors, we talked about getting your deposit together, talked about photographs when moving in. What else? Oh yeah, referencing. Go and speak to your boss or your HR team build up a relationship with them and just go and tell them, hey, Janice, whatever he's called, I'm looking to rent a new place in the next month or two. I fully expect there'll be some referencing coming through, and rental market's so hard. So as soon as it comes through, could you do it for me? There's a box of chocolates in it for you or whatever, right? So just something, just like let the people know so that like we can carry out referencing in a day, or it can take weeks, right? And by the way, if referencing has taken weeks, we've cancelled referencing and we've put the property back on the market because, I'll talk about something else in a second as well, because we want the tenant in now. We rarely put a property on the market like a week or 2 weeks maximum before the old tenant is moving out. And often what we'll do, the tenant moves out Monday morning, cleaner goes in the afternoon, and the new tenant goes in Monday night. That is usually how it works in my business. Obviously, not all people are the same. We're not a letting agency and private landlord of our own lettings agency, which is why we know how to do all that stuff. But when you see a property and you go, oh yeah, and we're in February now, and people go, oh yeah, I'd like to rent this in June. I'm sorry, what? Can I rent it in June? No. Well, how can you rent it? It's available now. It's empty now. How long are you renting for? 6 months. So you want me to keep this place empty for 4 months so you can move in just for 6 months? Right. So I get 6 months out of 10 months rent. That's not going to happen, you see. And I get it. People don't understand how that works. And like, if you come from a studentville, then that is how it does work. You might move in June or July or August or September. If it's a student type property, but that's really not how it works in city centres and non-student areas. If a property is on the market, it will tell you when the moving date is, and or it'll say it's available now or whatever that happens to be. So you just need to keep an eye on that. But get those other things in place. Get your guarantor in place. Get your HR team to understand that you're going to be asking for a reference. Make sure you've got your deposit in place. Anything else that you think somebody might ask for, like your guarantor, they're going to get referenced. So your guarantor needs to speak to their HR team as well. Right, does that make sense? If you've got any comments about that, I'm just going to grab a quick drink. And if you've got a comment about anything that we've spoken about today, I'm so desperate to put Tom's Leeds is scum comment back up. Let me grab a quick drink. Please put a comment in. I apologise if you're hearing me gulp. I've got headphones in. I don't think there's any comments, but thank you so much for listening today. I've got to put Tom's comment back up. Leeds is full of scum. And then we'll finish with Jerry's. Who is this silver fox? Thank you, folks. Thanks for joining. Hope you have a wicked day. And by the way, if you are like Tom, bring a bit of life, love and life. Bring a bit of enjoyment. Bring a bit of niceness. You don't have to be a twat all your life. You can be nice. You can be nice, Tom, right? You can just be nice. You don't have to be a twat all your life. You can be the beacon that other people want to see. Be the example that people look up to. You don't have to be a twat all your life.